everyone, it's Linnea for LDRS Creative, and I'm going to show you how to create a snow globe themed card using the Winter Wonderland Iris Shutter Kit from LDRS Creative, exclusive to HSN. Now, like I said in the previous video, this kit is an auto ship kit, and so you do need to start with the base kit, the Everyday Iris Shutter Kit, to be able to make this mechanism. The large die set that I have on the left, that's from the original kit, and so that's where I have cut all of these pieces that I need to create the iris shutter mechanism. I've cut 3 of the circle pieces from white, I have 3 of the little kidney beans from white, I have 3 support pieces. Support piece color doesn't matter, but I had some brown cardstock laying around, just a scrap piece, so I cut that from that. And then I cut a brown handle from the base kit, and then a topper from some metallic shimmery colored cardstock. I also used this add-on scallop to cut from that same champagne-y kind of off-white shimmer cardstock. That's going to be the top of my snow globe. So these are all the pieces that I need to create my iris shutter mechanism. I have done a few videos of this mechanism now. So if you need a more up-close, slowed down version, I would check out the first 2 intro videos. This one is going normal speed, but I'm going to just kind of jump right in. I'm starting with all 3 of these white kidney bean shaped pieces, and I'm going to take the tabs that are die cut into them and just fold them up, kind of just pinch them to crease them and score them with my fingers so they are sticking up at the edge of the kidney bean piece. Once I have that done with all 3 pieces, I'm going to start with one of those circle pieces that have the cutout shapes in them, and I'm going to find one of the curved rectangles and just hook the foot end of one of those kidney bean pieces in, and then just continue around the circle until I have all 3 of those kidney bean pieces in my circle piece. If you've done this correctly, they'll be layered right on top of each other, and you will have a full circle, and those kidney bean pieces will line up with the inner and outer curves of that larger circle. Now I've grabbed a second die cut piece, that's that circle piece with the cutout pieces included in it, and I'm going to be working, instead of with the rectangle, I'm looking at those tiny little circles, and I'm going to take those tabs that we folded up in the first step and push them through the back of that second circle and then flatten them down. This is going to be the base of the iris shutter. I'm holding on to that bottom circle and just twisting that top circle back and forth to make sure that that's going to move freely. Now I'm going to adhere my handle onto my iris shutter mechanism. I'm going to find the stitched outline guidelines that look like a square, and I'm going to add adhesive only on the top white portion of that circle. I want to be within those stitched guidelines, but make sure that I'm not adding adhesive through any of the cutout parts. Then I'm just going to pinch and hold that handle on for just a second to let that glue set. Now I flipped that mechanism over to the back, and I am locating the 3 stitched rectangle portions. They're skinny stitched rectangle portions. That's where I'm going to line up my support pieces. Those are the brown pieces that I've cut here. And there are 2 score lines that are cut into the center portion. I'm just going to fold over on each of those score lines so that I have 3 support pieces that are now kind of bent, so they look like books. They have that book spine edge to them. Now I'm going to use some liquid adhesive and just add a thin line in between those stitched rectangle guidelines that are on the back of my iris shutter mechanism, and I'm going to adhere my support beam pieces onto each one of those stitched outlines. You want the first of those score lines to kind of butt right up against the edge of that outer circle. You don't want this to be super tight, and you definitely don't want to adhere these onto the front yet. We're only adhering each of these support beam pieces onto the back. Once I have them all adhered, I'm just going to kind of press them in place and hold them for a couple seconds to make sure they're adhered. Then I'll flip this over to the front and open up each of these support beam pieces. I'm going to take the 3rd circle die cut piece, and I'm going to line this up so that the cutouts line up with the piece right underneath. So you'll see the iris shutter kind of kidney bean pieces peeking through, and then your handle peeking through as well. I'm going to add a bit of adhesive onto the exposed end of each of these 3 support tabs, and then I'm just going to fold these over so that they are adhered only to the top and the bottom circle pieces of my iris shutter mechanism. Now, when you're folding these over, you don't want to fold this over too tightly, because then your pieces aren't going to be able to move freely enough. So this should be adhered together so that it can't fall apart, but not so tightly that the pieces can't move within that shutter. Now I'm just going to test the handle, and to do this I'm just holding on to only that bottom circle and letting that inner pieces kind of move freely. Once I have that done, I'm going to add my decorative topper. I'm adhering this, or adding some adhesive onto the back, only onto the areas in between the stitched rectangle guidelines on the back, and being careful not to add any around that arrow cutout so that I don't have excess adhesive sticking through to the front. I'm going to give this one more test just to make sure I have it working perfectly, and then I can go ahead and get ready to put this together on my card. So I have this circle die cut piece that I had in the beginning, and that's going to go right on top. That's going to be the glass globe portion of my snow globe. And then I also have some elements from my Winter Wonderland Iris Shutter Kit. I have a card base, a pattern paper topper, one of the snow globe bases, and then I have a sentiment and a bunch of ephemera. I'll start by using liquid adhesive behind my pattern paper piece and adhering this flat onto my card base. Really easy, really simple. These are all cut to A2, so they're just going to line up perfectly. Then I'm going to start planning out my card. So I want the center of my circle cutout to line up with the center of my iris shutter mechanism. I'm going to add my adhesive from the support beam pieces over to the circle cutout piece, and I'm using foam adhesive, again, just to make sure that this has some wiggle room. I'm making sure that I don't have adhesive anywhere where those cutout pieces are, just to make sure that everything's moving freely. Then I'm going to open up that iris shutter mechanism and adhere that scalloped piece on top, making sure that the center parts are lined up so that when you open it, you can see through and you don't see any of that inner mechanism. I'm going to use some liquid adhesive and just add a line towards the top of that snow globe base, and then stick that right onto my scalloped piece. And that's going to adhere the shutter mechanism to the snow globe. Now I need some adhesive so that I can adhere this to the card. So again, I'm going to add foam adhesive from the support pieces on the back of the iris shutter mechanism to the circle cutouts, making sure that I don't have foam tape touching any of those cutout pieces. And then I'll add a double thick layer of foam tape to the snow globe base as well, just to make sure that that has some support. Then I'll make sure my iris shutter mechanism is in the closed position, because that's how I'm going to mail it. And then I'll line that up so that it is up in the top right hand corner. Then I can open up my iris shutter mechanism and just pop my sentiment right down into the center using some liquid adhesive. And I have a whole bunch of die cut character ephemera pieces, and I'll play around here and just kind of get them aligned. I love this big mailbox next to these adorable little snow people and the little penguin. I think that that is absolutely adorable. I'm going to just align them how I want them to be, then I will attach them to my card using foam tape. And this card is finished. I think it turned out super cute, and I hope that you do too. Remember that I have another video on the LDRS Creative YouTube channel showing how to use the wreath topper from this Winter Wonderland Iris Shutter Auto Ship Kit from LDRS Creative and HSN. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!